Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is the paid request. This time for Lucas. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos or topics, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, video game stuff, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for Lucas, who wanted me to talk about an episode of What's New Scooby Doo. This one called Reef. Now, before I get started, a little bit of talk on Scooby-Doo as a character. I didn't grow up with this iteration, but I did grow up with the old stuff. Now, I say grow up, I didn't have the channels, we didn't have the channels they were on, but my aunt, because we only had 4 channels, CBS, PBS, another form of CBS, and ABC, on the farm when I was growing up as a kid, my aunt would send us various VHS tapes that had, whether it be X-Files or Simpsons or various other cartoons. Some of them were Ren and Stimpy, some of them were other stuff, and some of them included Scooby-Doo. Now, I like Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And I'm always surprised that it only lasted like 3 seasons, because it's such a big, popular show. I just imagine it lasted longer, but no, only 3 seasons. And it's interesting when you look back throughout the iterations, they never last that long. Like, there's not a Scooby-Doo show that lasted 5 or 6 or 7 seasons, or a show that kept going and going, like South Park or Simpsons or anything of that nature. They're always like 1 or 2 years, maybe 3 years max. Because I remember, like, back in the day, you had the Scooby and Scrappy show, you had the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, a pup named Scooby-Doo, and like I said, they never lasted too long. Even this show, because it is a pup named Scooby-Doo, that was about the 90s, and when that was done, there wasn't anything Scooby-Doo until this, which was 2002. From 2002 to 2006, so really it was 3 seasons among those years. And this was the last time you had Casey Kasem as a major fixture on the show as the voice of Shaggy. I think what it is that while I do like the character, I think for a lot of people, when you start watching a lot of it, you realize that it's a very, very formulaic show. Which is a fun formula, but even like if I rewatch the older show, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? For the first 5 episodes, I'm having fun, and then you kind of see the redundancy, you kind of see the formula, and you realize, okay, this is why these shows don't last that long. It's why these seasons at most get 3 seasons, because the novelty can wear off. Even to this day, like, I'm watching this, and I'm sitting there going, I can see all the beats that are coming, all the beats that are happening, and weirdly enough, it seems like there is such formulaic that they don't really have much room to do much, as in, the only other thing is, oh, the monsters are real, and of course that's been done multiple times as well by this point, so. You have the kids, you have Fred the leader who comes with the plans, you got Daphne the pretty one, and her and Fred, will they or won't they, you got Velma the smart one, Jinkies Where's My Glasses, you got the Shaggy and Scooby who only care about food and are the most scaredy cats of them all, and usually are the ones to bring down the monster. The monster back then was always someone in a mask who always had some plan. It was supposed to be a mystery, but a lot of times you could figure out what the mystery was. Or at least who it was. So they say it's a fun formula, but it's still a formula as well. And even this is more, oh, I enjoy because it reminds me of when I watched Scooby-Doo back in the day, of the original iteration. As its own, it's kind of like meh as an episode. Just like, okay, this one is about a sandcastle competition in Australia. around the Great Barrier Reef, and this coral reef monster that's pulling people to the sand, kind of like Tremors. And Scooby and Shaggy have been brought there because they're sandcastle mating aficionados. Fred, Daphne, and Velma are along for the ride. And there's a mystery to be solved of who's pulling these people to the sand, what's going on. Scooby and Shaggy get steered. In order to do this plan, they get Scooby snacks, which is a very common thing. In this case, in their backpacks where they hit a button, they get Scooby snacks. More than likely, you don't have a chase scene with some kind of song or music playing, which they do, where our characters are either going to get into different costumes, or they don't do the door thing because there's no doors out there, but the door thing where they go out here, but then they're over here, then they're out here, but then they're over here, and they keep crossing back and forth. The one thing in here is that the band playing is Smash Mouth. And you actually have the guy who recently passed away. I'm guessing this is why Lucas requested this, because sadly this guy did pass away. Steve Harwell, the singer of Smash Mouth. Of course, the song people know is the song All Star. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on. Let's play. So, he sadly passed away. I believe some form of cancer. So fuck cancer. It's too bad. I mean, I know of the band, of course, Shrek. They were in a lot of movies, Mystery Men. A lot of their songs were featured in a lot of films of that time period. But I never really followed the band. Like, I never kept up and such. But yeah, that's too bad. So he voices, because his band is playing at this festival, this rock festival. At one point, their band's equipment is destroyed. They do sing a song during the chase scene. The song's called New Planet. And then you do hear them sing a bit at the end to close out the episode. So, the musical guest star. So, it was nice to hear that. Rest in peace, Steve Harwell. It was nice to see Scooby again, because it's been a while since I've seen anything Scooby-Doo related. It's been quite a few years. I even have a little curtain of Scooby-Doo. I have that up because my mom gave that to me a long, long time ago. Way, way back to the day. Because I think there was one year I was like in Scooby-Doo fever, just thinking of anything Scooby-Doo. So I do remember that, so I keep that around because it's, it's a gift from my mom. And also, it was nice to hear Casey Kasem again as Shaggy. He was always my favorite character on the original show, Shaggy. I liked Scooby-Doo, but Shaggy was always my favorite. I thought Casey Kasem did a great job voicing him. Granted, this time you can hear a little bit of the age, because Casey Kasem was fairly old at this point, but it was still nice to hear him again. A lot of fond memories. He has my favorite bit in this episode, where he's being pulled in with Scooby-Doo into the sand, and he says the line, "I'll get you out if it's the last thing I do." "No, the last thing I'm going to do is scream." Which, ironically enough, soon after, Matthew Lillard from Scream would take over as Shaggy. Of course, Matthew Lillard played Shaggy in the live-action versions, and Matthew Lillard did a great job as well. I didn't watch a lot of the shows that he voiced the character. I've seen clips by the live-action movies. He's the best part of them. Like, Matthew Lillard, if there's a guy to take the mantle, Matthew Lillard was, and he did a great job. And then, funny enough, or sadly enough, they did, what was that movie, Scoob? But they didn't bring him back for that, which I thought was weird. Like, this guy does a really good job. He's available. People recognize his name, Matthew Lillard, but you don't bring him back for that. It was supposed to go in theaters. I don't know if it did. I can't remember. I know it got released. It was released on the streaming platforms, but I can't remember how much of a theatrical it got or not. But it's like, really? But it was, like I say, it was nice to have Casey Kasem there. And pretty much the story spoilers is that this coral reef monster is pulling people into the sand, or so you think. There's a point that he's upset and he's chasing our lead characters, trying to play whack-a-mole with them, and they're avoiding him. At one point, Shaggy and Scooby get pulled into the sand. Fred put something on it to track them. They have to dive down. Scooby and Shaggy, they snap out of being hypnotized because they got their Scooby snacks. Fred, Daphne, and Velma find them. And then they don't really do much. It's pretty much something happens and then they run away and then the whole thing collapses. So they didn't really do a whole lot. There was a whole lot of planning. Like, there was a whole lot of, well, they do this, it's just kind of almost by luck. Something happens, they run, the whole thing crumbles down, and then they've caught the bad guy. And you could kind of tell who the bad guy was, so it wasn't much of a mystery, but, you know, it is what it is. And apparently Guy wanted to build this reef way, this underwater highway, so he would hypnotize people to use pickaxes and hammer out this fucking highway. And I'm thinking, how fucking long would that take to hammer a highway? How many miles would it be? Hundreds and hundreds of miles? I mean, I don't think this guy, like, without any heavy-duty equipment, heavy-duty drilling equipment, like, people with pickaxes, you know how long that would take where you have to feed them, you have to clothe them, where in the hell they don't go to the bathroom? All that shit you'd have to take care of, literally and figuratively? I don't know, man. I don't think you, hey, Mr. Bad Guy, you did not work this plan out. I just really, the one big surprise is that the coral reef monster is actually real, but it's just a sea creature who, something about what happened made him frustrated and angry, but is actually a friendly ally. Helps Scooby-Doo at one point. And they waved goodbye to it. So I guess that was the one nice little surprise. And the voice of Scooby-Doo, I think at this point, it's the guy who voices Fred. Or I think that's the same guy who has voiced Fred for the longest time. I think that's the only guy from, well, at this point it was Casey Kasem and him. I can't believe I forgot his name though. I believe he voices Ray on the old Ghostbusters cartoon. Done a lot of work for a variety of cartoons. But I think he voices Fred and Scooby-Doo. I think it's one of those things that the guy who voiced him originally was Don Messick, I believe. When he passed away, Scooby never sounded the same. And they've tried, but it just, maybe just those years and years and years as a kid hearing Scooby-Doo's voice, and then when I hear that, I go, that's not Scooby. That's not Scooby. So I think that loses a little appeal to me with the later incarnations. But I think the last Don Messick did was a pup named Scooby-Doo. I think in between, I don't know, Don Messick, he passed away, but I don't know if he had passed away, but by this point he retired, but might have passed away, but yeah, when he was gone, Scooby never sounded the same, and which is fine. I mean, Matthew Lillard does a great job as Shaggy, and I could be fine with it, but Scooby, I don't know, I think the older Scoobies just sound a bit more lower pitched. I think that sounded better. But now, anytime you hear Scooby, he's much more higher pitched. It just doesn't sound right. Did you watch the old cartoons? Scooby's voice is a little bit lower. A little bit lower. I don't want to say raspier, but like now it's much more bigger, and I don't know how else to put it. So you listen when you watch stuff like this, like I said, you could see the formula if you've seen the show long enough, and again, that formulaic nature to get very tiresome to people, and you can predict stuff that's coming on, and the type of jokes it has. So I can see why these don't last that long. But at the same time, it's kind of, I don't want to say really nostalgic, but it brought back fond memories of watching it. So it was nice to watch this. It was nice to hear Steve Harwell. I had never heard of the Smash Mouth song New Planet, so it was nice to hear a song from them I never heard of before. It was nice to hear Casey Kasem again, because I missed the guy. Did a great job as Shaggy. It was nice to revisit Scooby-Doo again. And he still lives on, like every once in a while they'll come on with a movie. What was it, Scooby-Doo and the Courage of the Cowardly Dog? I don't think I ever saw that one. And there are times like they'll team him up with someone, or he meets someone. That still pops up from time to time, like a yearly basis or something. So there's still a fan base and market for it, obviously. I guarantee you they don't make another movie. Maybe not a live action movie, but I guarantee you at some point they don't make another movie of Scooby-Doo. Just the mystery, the action, the angle, the formula. It's a winning formula. Again, but it is a formula that if you see it 100 times, it could get tiresome, but still a fun formula nonetheless. So with that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.